Welcome to DrugTalk, the remedy that brings you closer to the science of drugs and the stories that hold their secrets.
Okay, get this today's deep dive. We're swimming with zebrafish.
Swimming, well, not literally.
True. We're not talking aquariums here. But these tiny fish, get this, they might just change how we treat cancer. Sounds wild, right?
It's a headline that makes you look twice, that's for sure. But the research is really solid. We're diving into some fascinating stuff from trends in cancer, all about zebrafish and personalized cancer treatment.
So zebrafish, why are they suddenly the rock stars of cancer research? What makes them such a good model for studying human diseases, especially something as complex as cancer?
Well, you might be surprised to learn that we humans share a lot of genes with these little guys, about 70% actually.
70%? Seriously?
Yeah.
It's way more overlap than I would guessed.
Right. It's remarkable. But it's not just about having similar genes. It's that those genes often do similar things in both species. When we learn about a gene in a zebrafish, there's a good chance we're unlocking secrets about human health, too. And get this, zebrafish even develop tumors that look and act like ours, very similar to what you'd see in humans.
It's like having a living, breathing model of human cancer right there in the lab.
You got it. But with zebrafish, we get an inside look that other models, even mice, just can't offer. The big secret weapon. Zebrafish embryos are transparent.
Hold on, transparent, like see-through.
Totally transparent. Imagine watching cancer cells in action in real time inside a living creature. We can see how they grow, how they invade, how they interact with blood vessels, other tissues. It's like a window into the hidden world of cancer.
That's mind-blowing. It's like a time-lapse video of cancer, but it's live, right in front of you. No wonder scientists are geeking out about these fish.
And the hits keep coming. They grow fast, which means we get research results way faster, too, sometimes in days or weeks instead of months. That's huge when you're dealing with cancer, right? Plus, we don't need much to get started. A small sample of tumor cells is enough to get these studies going.
So they're like mini humans in a way, genetically speaking. Plus, they're see-through, grow super fast, and we don't need a ton of material to study them. What's the catch? There's going to be a downside, right?
Well, they're not perfect replicas of us, of course. Like any model organism, zebrafish have their limitations.
Okay, fair enough. But even with those limitations, it sounds like zebrafish are shaking up the cancer research world. And I'm especially intrigued by this idea of personalized medicine, using zebrafish to tailor treatments to each patient. Is that really possible?
It's not as far-fetched as it sounds, but that's a whole other fascinating story. So personalized cancer treatment with zebrafish, you're probably wondering how on earth that works.
You've read my mind. It's hard to imagine going from tiny fish to treating a person's cancer.
It's all about xenografts. Heard that term before.
It rings a bell, but a little refresher never hurts.
Right. So a xenograft, it's basically taking living cells or tissues from one organism and sticking them into a different species usually.
Okay, so we're talking about putting a piece of a human tumor into a zebrafish.
You got it. And those zebrafish, especially the little ones, the larvae, they're perfect for this.
Because they're see-through.
That's part of it. But the real key is their immune system. See, those larvae, they haven't fully developed theirs yet.
So their bodies don't attack the human cancer cells as invaders?
Exactly. They don't recognize those human cells as a threat, so they don't reject them like a mouse would.
Wow, that's a huge advantage. It's like the zebrafish becomes a little living test tube, a way to study human cancer cells up close and personal.
Precisely. And here's the other cool thing. With mice, those human cancer cells, they have to adapt to their new environment. It takes weeks, even months. But with zebrafish, especially the larvae, we're seeing what those cells do immediately, right off the bat.
We're not waiting for the cells to settle in. We're seeing their raw, immediate behavior.
Exactly. Now, we've talked about how great zebrafish are for this, but there are actually different types of zebrafish we can use for these xenografts.
Really? What's the difference?
Adult zebrafish, their tissues are more mature, so it's a more realistic environment for the human cancer cells, more like what they'd experience in a human body.
So it's about mimicking their natural environment as closely as possible.
Yes. But then there are the larvae. Like we've been saying, they're amazing for those high-resolution visuals. We can track cancer cell behavior at a single-cell level, see things we just couldn't see otherwise.
It's a trade-off, then, realistic environment versus those super detailed images.
That's the big question. Now, where do we get these tumor cells in the first place? That's where things get really interesting, and it's where the personalized part of personalized medicine comes in.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Traditionally, we've used these things called cancer cell lines. They're basically populations of cancer cells that have been growing in labs for years.
Like a pre-made model of cancer.
Exactly, but there's a catch. They've been growing in these controlled lab environments for so long that they might not perfectly represent what a real live tumor is doing inside a person's body.
So it's like studying a picture of a forest. You get the idea, but you're missing the real thing.
Great analogy. And that's where patient-derived xenografts, or ZPDXs for short, come in.
ZPDXs, I like it. So instead of using these generic cell lines, we're taking a sample directly from the patient's tumor.
You got it. We're creating a mini-me of a patient's tumor inside a zebrafish.
That's incredible. But how do we actually use these ZPDX zebrafish to figure out how to treat that specific person's cancer? That's what I'm dying to know.
Hold that thought, because that's where things get really exciting. We'll be right back after a quick break to break down exactly how these zebrafish are helping us unlock the secrets of personalized cancer treatment.
You are listening to Drug Talk, a podcast that brings you closer to the science of drugs and the stories that hold their secrets. Produced and edited by Dr. Nicholas Dietis.
All right, so we're back. And before the break, we were talking about those personalized zebrafish avatars, the ZPDXs. It's amazing, like something straight out of sci-fi, but actually real. So how do we use these tiny fish to figure out the best way to treat a person's cancer?
Think of it like this. Each of these zebrafish, these ZPDXs, they're like a testing ground. Each one is unique, representing one patient's tumor.
Okay, so it's like we're running a clinical trial, but instead of people, we're using hundreds of tiny fish, each one a different approach to fighting the cancer.
Exactly. And because we can see right through them, we can see exactly how the tumor responds to different treatments, how the cancer cells behave.
So we can actually see which treatment works best for that particular tumor in real time.
Exactly. And don't forget about drug resistance, one of the biggest challenges in cancer treatment. Zebrafish are giving us a whole new way to understand how that resistance happens and hopefully how to beat it.
That's really interesting. It's one thing to say we're studying drug resistance, but what does that actually look like? What are we seeing in the lab?
Imagine this. We treat a bunch of these zebrafish xenografts with a chemotherapy drug.
Right.
Most of the tumor cells, they die off, which is what we want. But some, a few, they survive. Those are the tough ones, the drug-resistant cells. In a normal setting, those cells will be hiding within the tumor. But with zebrafish, we can see them, isolate them, study them.
So we're trying to figure out what makes those cells different, why they're so resistant, and use that information to develop new treatments.
Exactly. And because we can test tons of drugs or drug combinations at the same time, and zebrafish grow so quickly, it speeds up the whole process of finding and developing those new treatments.
It's like running thousands of mini experiments simultaneously. Are there any examples of how zebrafish have actually helped us understand cancer better or even identify new treatments?
Absolutely. One area where zebrafish are making a huge difference is in understanding metastatic cancer, when cancer spreads to other parts of the body. We can actually watch as individual cancer cells break away from the tumor and travel through the bloodstream in those transparent zebrafish embryos.
It sounds kind of terrifying, actually, watching cancer spread like that, even if it is just in a zebrafish.
I can see that, but it really shows us how powerful this model is. By actually seeing these processes happening, scientists have pinpointed molecules and pathways that are essential for cancer cells to spread. For example, there are these pathways, YAP-CXCR2 and PIT1-CXCR4. Now we know they're super important in breast cancer metastasis. And we know that in part thanks to zebrafish.
Wow. Okay, so let's bring this home for our listeners. Say I'm diagnosed with cancer. How would the zebrafish technology actually work for me?
Imagine it's the future. This technology is everywhere. You have a biopsy, right? And a tiny bit of that tumor sample, it go into a lab, they take those cells, and they create hundreds of these zebrafish xenografts, your own personal cancer-fighting squad.
I'm picturing hundreds of tiny fish all working together to help me fight my cancer.
Love it. So we've got your personalized fish squad ready to go. Now we can test a whole bunch of different treatments on them. And because they're transparent, we can watch carefully, see how each tumor responds to the different treatments.
And from that, you can tell which treatment is most likely to work for me.
Yes. No more guessing games, no more hoping for the best. We're taking the guesswork out of treatment using your own personalized zebrafish avatars to pinpoint the best approach from day one. It's personalized medicine, tailored to your unique tumor.
That is incredible. We've gone from what seemed like a crazy idea, zebrafish helping to cure cancer, to what feels like we're on the verge of a revolution in how we treat cancer.
It is really exciting. But like with all science, there are still challenges. How do we make this technology available to everyone? How do we translate what we're learning with zebrafish to humans in the real world?
Such important questions, and this is just the beginning of the zebrafish story. So much more to learn, so much potential to unlock. Thank you so much for taking us on this incredible deep dive.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep those brains curious.
This was Drug Talk, the remedy that brings you closer to the science of drugs and the stories that hold their secrets. Produced and edited by Dr. Nicholas Dietis.